Ready for the unsolved mysteries and unanswered questions following the murder at the end of the world. Revealed and warning spoilers alert. The major murder mystery in A Murder at the End of the World is satisfactorily resolved, but there are still a number of unresolved issues beyond the conclusion. A Murder at the End of the World, Britt Marling's Lee, Emma Corrin's Darby, and Harris Dickinson's Bill. There are spoilers for A Murder at the End of the World in this article. Overview. Many mysteries remain unsolved in A Murder at the End of the World, such as what became of Lee and Zoomer after they left Iceland, and if Andy was able to catch them. Since Darby destroyed the evidence and there was no hard proof against him, it is unclear whether Andy was charged with anything for the fatalities at the retreat. The objective of Zeba and Martin's invitation to the retreat is left unseen in the program. Therefore, it is never explained. While A Murder at the End of the World satisfactorily resolves many of its overarching riddles, it leaves out the answers to a number of persistent issues throughout its 7-episode duration. A Murder at the End of the World is an innovative plot that has 9 strangers invited to a billionaire's retreat. The majority of the narrative takes place in an Icelandic hotel. However, once 2 visitors are discovered dead one after the other, what seems to be a get-together quickly becomes a murder scene. A Murder at the End of the World lets viewers become armchair detectives by laying up a number of red herrings and subliminal clues as its sleuth protagonist Darby Hart searches for clues and solves the murder mystery. In the end, A Murder at the End of the World comes to a satisfying conclusion as Darby pieces everything together and discovers the identity of the main murderer. Even still, the episode leaves certain unsolved concerns while providing a thorough explanation for the main crimes. What was the fate of Lee and Zoomer after they departed Iceland? Andy Ronson, did you capture them? A Murder at the End of the World's last scene shows how Lee and Zoomer reached the Icelandic coast and even utilized an emergency boat to go further out to sea in order to get in touch with Rohan's last chance ship. The show also verifies that the spacecraft saw Lee and Zoomer before the credits began to roll. It is difficult to ignore the possibility that Andy found her, however, considering how he accused Lee of abduction and probably sent his security detail to locate her after learning of her disappearance. Andy may have deduced that Lee was heading to Argentina as David was assisting her in getting away. Was Andy charged with anything regarding the retreat deaths? Were there any hard proofs against Andy? Darby may have attempted to report the event to police authorities, even though it is uncertain whether all of the guests testified against Andy after learning of his participation in the killings of Bill and Rohan. The final moments of A Murder at the End of the World allude to the difficulty prosecutors had in assigning guilt for the killings due to I's participation. Towards the end, Ray was completely destroyed by Lee and Darby, even setting all of their evidence against Andy on fire. Will Darby ever be able to stop Andy from pursuing Lee and Zoomer in the absence of hard proof that the killings were caused by him? How could Rohan decipher what Bill found at the retreat? Were Rohan's murderous intentions misguided? Just before passing away, Rohan contacts Darby and says he knows what Bill found out at the retreat. Although the secret the two had discovered is not disclosed in A Murder at the End of the World, it is probable that they had discovered that Zoomer was Bill's son. The episode never reveals how Rohan found out about Andy's connection with Zoomer. However, it's plausible that Andy told Bill the truth about it to make him jealous of Zoomer's presence. Was Andy actually sick all the time? Why were there so many medical supplies at the retreat? Andy Ronson, played by Clive Owen in A Murder at the End of the World. In a crucial sequence from A Murder at the End of the World, Andy Ronson says the economy would collapse if people outside of his circle of influence discovered he was suffering from a chronic disease. Additionally, Andy nervously states on the tape he made with Ray that Bill would destroy all he has made if anything were to happen to him. Although the program never makes clear what is ailing Andy, all these hints point to a possible medical condition. How did Lee become carrying Bill's baby? The chronology of A Murder at the End of the World is erratic. A Murder at the End of the World stars Britt Marling as Lee Anderson and Emma Corrin as Darby. Darby is reassured by Lee when she tells him about her relationship with Bill, that they just dated once and broke up before they could become serious. Is it possible that Lee was telling falsehoods regarding her interactions with Bill? Furthermore, the chronology of the events hardly makes sense, even if Lee became pregnant as a result of the hookup. A Murder at the End of the World's flashbacks show that Bill and Darby's voyage took place 6 years prior to 2023. But because Bill was with Darby in July 2016, it is unthinkable that Zoomer could have been conceived at that time.